So here I am with my patient. We're going to get her fitted in for a wheelchair today. Now some things I might ask, first of all, her weight, so I can kind of decide if I need just a standard adult wheelchair or a more heavy duty wheelchair. Something else I might ask is what type of activity she likes to do. If she's very active or like sports, there are specific wheelchairs for that. Also, if she were an amputee or something of that nature, we also have specific wheelchairs for that as well. But today I'm just going to measure her for a standard adult wheelchair, and so we can get right into that. So first I'm going to start with measuring her seat height. What I want to do is I want to start my zero at the heel. We're going to measure up all the way to the popliteal fold. So I'm going to do that now. Heel, popliteal fold. I got about 18 inches, which is good. I also want to make sure that I add 2 inches in order to make room for the footrest. And the footrest itself should be about 2 inches off the ground to make sure that there's clearance and provides better wheelchair mobility. This footrest is more about 3.5, so I could probably lower the footrest for sure. But other than that, that is a good measurement for the seat height. So next we're going to measure seat depth. First what I'm going to ask her and the patient to do is to scoot back all the way in her chair. So if you already are, that's great. But just make sure you're scooted back all the way. Awesome. And then I'm going to make it easier to measure, I'm going to take the armrest, put it back behind her like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from the posterior buttock to the popliteal fold. So, that here, at about 17.5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 2 inches. The reason I'm going to subtract 2 inches is that we have enough room for the seat to not be rubbing against the popliteal fold or to not rub or chafe against the thigh here. So that's why we subtract the 2 inches. But other than that, it's a good measurement at 17.5. Again, subtracting that 2, so it'd be 15.5, which is a good measurement. So next what we're going to do is we're going to measure the seat width. What we're looking for is we're looking for the widest portion of either the hip or the thigh, whatever is going to be potentially touching the side of the wheelchair. Now we don't want that because we don't want any pressure source, especially on the greater trochanters, but we're looking for the widest portion, the upper leg. So I'm going to measure here, come right here, and I'm going to say about 16.5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1.5 inches to that measurement to make it 18 inches. And the reason we do that is we want to make sure that there's still enough space, either for they wear thicker clothing, or again, we do not want any pressure sores to occur on that greater trochanter. Other than that, that is a good measurement. So next, I'm going to measure the back height of the wheelchair. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the patient if she can just raise her arms up, just like that. And I'm going to measure from the seat here to her axilla, right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm getting a measurement of 16 inches. You can rest. 16 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 4 from that measurement. Now the reason I do that is because I don't want the seat height, or the back height rather, too high, as that will possibly interfere with her propulsion, as it can get in the way of the scapula, especially the inferior angle. So I want to make sure that that wheelchair back is beneath her inferior angle of her scapula. This wheelchair is definitely a little too high, so we would definitely lower it. But other than that, 16 minus 4 for 12 inches. That's what I would measure her back height at. Alright, and now we're going to measure the armrest height. So what we're looking is at an average of 9 inches. However, obviously this can vary. What I'm going to ask the patient to do is hold her arms just like this, 90 degrees. I'm going to measure from the seat to her olecranon process right here. So we can go ahead and do that. And I have 10 inches here from her olecranon process to the seat. What we're going to do is we're going to add 1 inch to that measurement for a good arm height measurement for the wheelchair. So now that I have the patient properly fitted to her wheelchair, I'm now going to show her ways in which she can use her wheelchair. So we're going to begin and start by showing her how to do a bilateral upper extremity propulsion technique. So what we're going to do, I just need to place one hand on this rail right here, and the other, make sure the wheelchair is unlocked, which it is, and now we're just going to pull ourselves forward, just like that. Good, good, just like that. Awesome. All right, so next I'm going to instruct the patient on a scenario if they just had access to one upper extremity and one lower extremity. Now there are different scenarios, different cases that the patient could be in, but if at all possible, we'll ask the patient to use the opposite leg to their opposite upper extremity. So whichever one you're comfortable with, say you have your right leg or your left. Okay, so you have your left leg and you're going to propel with your right.
Okay.
Okay? So you're going to use your right hand and you're going to use your left foot to propel yourself forward. So just like that. Good. Good. Just like that. Alright, so for the next scenario, we're going to go through a patient who has access to only their legs, so a bilateral lower extremity patient. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm just going to have you propel yourself forward just using your legs to step forward. Good. Good. Also, you just kind of guide yourself that way. Alright, so next I'm going to instruct the patient and educate her on how to turn using the wheelchair. So if we're going to make a left turn, what I want you to do is I want to put your hands on the wheelchair rails, and if you're going to turn left, you're going to go forward with the right wheel and back with the left wheel. So just like that for a left turn. Good. Now to turn back and to turn right, you're going to just do the opposite. So left wheel forward, right wheel back. Awesome. Well, that's how you turn. Alright, so now what we're going to work on is we're going to work on ascending and descending a curb. First, I'm going to perform ascend and descend of a curb with an assist. So if a PT, PTA, or any health worker or caregiver can do this, we can help the patient get up that curb. So we're going to first take the brakes off here. We have our curb in front of us, so I'm going to lift you back, okay? Alright. Lift the patient up. We're going to make sure the caster wheels make contact with the surface above. And I'm now going to lift the patient up. We're on the curb, and we can proceed and go forward. To come back down and descend, I'm going to do the opposite. Going to slowly back up. Make sure to lower the patient softly. Make sure to put my foot here, so she doesn't just drop on the ground. I'm going to back up, back up, back up, back up, and lower her back to the ground. Now, put the brakes back on. Now, something we would work on is teaching her how to be more independent and to do this on her own. Something you could teach her to do is to eventually pop a wheelie, get the caster wheels up on the curb on her own. Then she would lean her weight forward and propel herself up above that curb. And to come back down, she would slowly bring herself back down towards the curb. Again, leaning that weight forward to balance and easing herself down off of the curb. So that is how you ascend and descend a curb. So next we're going to show the patient how to go up either a ramp or small incline. So we have our small incline here, which can simulate a ramp. What I'm going to ask the patient to do, I'm going to take the brakes off, and I'm going to have you roll forward up towards the ramp, leaning your weight forward just slightly, and we're going to get you up over this lip right here. And we're going to take a zigzag approach. So the reason we do this is so that she doesn't just fall backwards or start rolling backwards. We have that wheel kind of at a side angle as she goes up here, which is good. Awesome. For descending the ramp and coming down, again, we're kind of keeping that balance, and we're also doing the zigzag approach coming down. Making sure to keep her hands on the wheel so she can kind of ease her way down and kind of brake with her hands. Good. Awesome. And that's how you ascend and descend a ramp or an incline. So next we're going to instruct and educate the patient on how to get around obstacles and objects that may be on the floor or in the way. So when she is using the wheelchair to get around a room or whatever, and something is in the way, we want to make sure that she lines up her trunk to wherever she wants to turn and wherever she wants to be. Line our trunk up here, and we're just going to turn. We're making 90-degree angles, making L shapes, turn, good, and then go forward, just like that. And then again, line up the trunk, going to turn that way, and we can keep on moving. So that's how we get around obstacles. All right, so now we're going to instruct the patient on how to pick up an object. What we're going to have the patient do is roll over to the object that they want to pick up that may be on the ground. So we want the object to be right in front of them. We're going to put the brakes on. Good. And now we're just going to bend down, pick up the object just like that, place it in our lap, and we're going to unbrake and move on our way. So now we're going to educate the patient on how to enter a doorway with the wheelchair. What I'm going to have the patient do is line herself up with the door at a 45-degree angle. So just like that, 45 degrees. She's going to open the door with her arm. Now if it's a closing door that could potentially close back on her, she's going to keep her arm on the door as she propels her way through it. But since this one is staying open, she can keep herself going through just like that, through the door, and that's how you enter a doorway.